Hello, the General Nerd here. Um, so this is the first video I'm posted on here in a while. First thing where it's just me here talking, and I'm recording this on my camera phone. Hopefully this is going to be a regular thing where I just kind of rant about whatever I'm thinking about at the moment. I'm just laying here on my bed. And I was just thinking just a minute ago, and this is my second attempt at recording this for transparency's sake. Otherwise, totally unscripted rant about the enigma that is Vulcan names on Star Trek. Now, we never meet a Vulcan with two names. And the question is, when a Vulcan introduces themselves, are they giving you their first name, their last name, or their only name? And Star Trek never really definitively answers this question. There is a line in the original series, and I don't know which episode, because like I said, I'm doing this unscripted from memory. But I think it's Uhura asks Spock what his first name is, because she assumes, since his name is Mr. Spock, that's his family name. And he tells her, oh, it can't be pronounced by humans. And I don't think we should take this line as 100% canon, because Spock says a lot of things about Vulcan in the original series that later get retconned or forgotten about. But in this particular instance, exists the possibility that Spock is telling a joke, because in the way he was originally characterized on the show, it's not that he didn't understand humor and he couldn't tell jokes. It's just that his humor was so dry, sometimes you couldn't tell he was telling a joke. It was just so dry and logical. It's like, is he being serious? That kind of response. You can tell that really when he bended with McCoy, but of course that's not the only time it came out. And I think in this particular instance, he's just kind of messing with Uhura, because she's like, oh, she doesn't understand my culture? I'll just give her a funny answer. And we know it can't be the case that Spock is his family name, because we actually meet his father, and he's got a completely different name, Sarek. And even later, after that, we meet his brother Sybok, who also has a different name. And I know what you're thinking. Well, maybe Sarek and Sybok are their first names, and Spock is the family name. Which, okay, it could be the case, but it just seems a little weird that in this family, they would have given one person a name that was apparently so weird that humans can't pronounce it, and another two have names that humans can pronounce easily. And they're so similar. So the better theory, the most likely theory, is that a Vulcan's name is their only name. Of course, there's a real logistical problem to that, and it's one that we've encountered here in our real world life. For thousands of years of human history, most humans only had one name. And it didn't really matter so much when most of us were living in small communities, and maybe the only confusion would be you have the same name as your father, but it's obviously which one of you is which. And when your dad dies, you get to be the only one until you have a kid. So, and then you leave the town and you say, like, well, I'm John of Pleasantville. Oh, well, I'm John of Boringtown, So then town names. And being the son of, like, I am John, son of Don, or John Donson, or Don Johnson. uh, or your last name became your profession. You know, uh, it's that's how last names developed, and of course, nobility developed them first because they had more need for them. Because it needed to be more clear who was related to who when it came to matters of inheritance. You know, and when your inheritance is an entire freaking kingdom, you better know who your relatives are. Everybody got that same last name. That's how you create a dynasty. This problem never arose on Vulcan, despite them being more advanced than we are and presumably having a similar population. It's just a bit hard to stretch beyond belief. So I think it's actually much more likely that they do all have last names. But it's the last names that humans can't pronounce for whatever reason. And I don't think it has anything to do with the human tongue or the mouth, because it's not that different from the Vulcan mouth. Unless there's something freaky going on inside a Vulcan throat, I don't think there is. Many Vulcans have telepathic abilities. Maybe the last name and the family connection is something shared telepathically. That's my theory. Like, you know who's related to who because you can feel the telepathic bond of the family connection. And this is not something they can logically explain to humans, so they just don't bother. And I'm like, why you gotta go so freaky mystical with it? I mean, there's a lot of other Star Trek races that only have one names. I'm like, yeah, but in that case, they got something going for them. For example, Spock never introduced himself as Spock, son of Sarek, unless he's specifically trying to play up his family connection. Worf all the time introduces himself as Worf, son of Moog, and that's because that's the way Klingons do it. And they also have houses, which is usually named after a prominent family member. Sometimes, an interesting thing about Klingon houses, I might run out another time. Actually, we'll talk about Klingon houses another time. This is about Vulcan houses. But I'm just saying that the way Vulcans do it has to be something unique to their culture. And the most unique thing about them is that they do have some telepathic abilities. So that's probably explains the lack of family names. Well, that's just my thoughts on the matter, and just my theories on the matter, and just my understanding of it. So, if you liked this video, and you want to see more like it, you know what to do, like, subscribe, whatever it is you do on YouTube these days. I don't know. I am 41 years old. That's right, people. I'm not Gen Z. I'm not a boomer. I am a dyed-in-the-wool millennial. We're 40 now. Okay. Ta-ta. I'll see you later.